Okay, so in this video, I will be teaching you how to make old-fashioned sugar cookies. These only contain one egg and are really easy to make. Follow along if you would like to, and this video tutorial will basically explain how to make these delicious cookies.
The first step is to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. If your oven can't go to 375 degrees, the highest temperature it can go on is fine as well.
To make these delicious cookies, you'll need to prep the ingredients first. We're going to be mixing everything in a large bowl, so go ahead and take that out. What we're going to do is we're going to get 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and we're going to pour that inside the mixing bowl. Okay, so the next step is we need to get 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So here I'll get the baking powder. If you want your cookies to be more fluffy, then you can add more of this, but 1 teaspoon should be good enough. So that's 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And there's 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And the last thing we need to add to the large mixing bowl is 1/8 teaspoon of salt. This is very little bit. You don't need to add that much. Now that we've gotten all the ingredients for the large mixing bowl, we can set that aside. Now what we need to do is we need to cut 1 cup of butter. So we can go ahead and cut it. And now that we've cut it, we can put it in the microwave until it becomes liquid butter. Okay, so as you can see here, we've melted the butter. So now that we already put aside our large mixing bowl, we're going to combine the wet ingredients plus the sugar in a medium-sized mixing bowl, as you can see here. So we're going to go ahead and pour the butter into the medium-sized mixing bowl. And we're also going to get 1 egg. We only need 1 egg for this ingredient. For this recipe, I'm going to crack it. And we're going to add it into our mixture. So now we need to add our last few ingredients to our medium-sized mixing bowl. We need 3/4 cup of sugar, and you can go ahead and pour that into the wet ingredients that we've already added in this bowl. Now lastly, we need some vanilla extract. So we only need 1/2 teaspoon, so you can go ahead and get very little bit of vanilla extract, and you can go ahead and pour that into the mixture. So now we also, if you want to, you can add lemon extract to make your cookies taste more on the lemon side, but we're not going to be adding that today, only vanilla extract. Now that we've gotten all the ingredients in the medium-sized mixing bowl, it's time to combine both mixing bowls. So now we can go ahead and grab both mixing bowls and put the ingredients in the medium-sized bowl into the large bowl. Now that you've done this, what we need to do is we need to beat the mixture with egg beaters, but this time what we need to do is we don't want to mix it fully. We want to mix it until the point where we can knead it with our hands. So now let's beat the ingredients. So as you saw in the previous clip, we only did a little bit of beating. Now what we need to do is we need to mix the dough with our hands. Because this is dough, we need to mix it with our hands, because what egg beaters will do is they'll make it into like a cake mix or like a brownie mix that we're going to put in the oven. But that's not what we want to do in this case. We want to make a dough that we can cut into different cookie shapes. as you saw, it took some time, but we were able to knead the dough with our hands into a dough-like mixture. But now what we want to do is we want to put the dough into the fridge for about 30 minutes because it will be easier for us to cut the dough into different shapes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the oven.
3:28 a.m.
So this is what your dough should look like after you've put it in the fridge for about 30 minutes. So now we can begin the fun part, making the cookies into the shapes you want. So go ahead and take off a little piece of the dough that you've made. You can flatten it out by you're going to first make it a circle or like a sphere, and then you can flatten it out. So once your cookie has been flattened, you can do one of the following. You can either use cookie cutters to cut them into the shapes that they are, or you can do what I'm about to do. So let's say we want to make a triangle cookie. So we can get a knife, and be careful when you're doing this. You can cut the shape or cut the dough into the shape that you want. So as you can see here, I'm making a regular triangle shaped cookie, but you can do any different shape that you want, and I'll show you a couple of them as well. So you can repeat this process for the other shapes that you want to make. So first of all, move your other shape to the side of your workspace and go ahead and repeat what I just told you. We're going to make a circle, then we're going to spread that flat. Then this time, let's make a diamond. This is a little more complex, but not as complex as the triangle. So once you've cut the entire shape, you can scrape off the remaining portions, but you can also fix it according to your needs. So you can see that it might be a bit thick or thin depending on what you want. Normally you want the cookies to be thin so they're easier to eat, but it's in the end up to you. So let's go ahead and make one last cookie. This one will be slightly more complex than the ones we've done before. Okay, so we're going to be making a gingerbread man. So first what we need to do is we need to cut the head. And if you mess up, that's completely fine. What you can do is you can make the dough, you can just repair the cracks in the dough. So we're going to make the head. You can make the arms. There are the legs. And there's the other hand. So now what you can do is you can scrape off the excess dough. Put that back in your dough bowl. And you can also cut the dough again, as I said before, if you want to make it the exact shape you want, or you can add more dough to expand the figure. Okay, so now that you've completed your shapes, you can follow those steps that I told you to make more. But once you've made all of them, what you can do is you can put them on the baking sheet. So go ahead and get a metal tray, and then you can cover it with parchment paper. Then you can carefully transfer your shapes over from your workspace onto the parchment paper. Try to keep them at least 1 inch apart, or else they will, because in the oven, the heat causes them to expand, which might, if you put them too close together, cause them to combine. Also, if some of the shapes, like the gingerbread man we made earlier, are too delicate, you can use a spatula to transfer them. 1, 2. now that you've gotten all of your cookies made, you can transfer them to the baking sheet. Like I said before, if they're delicate, you can use a spatula to move them over. Be sure to keep them at least 1 inch apart. Now it looks like I don't have any more space, so I'll try to move one of them a bit over. Even though I'm breaking the 1 inch rule, they should at least have a little bit of space between them. So our last step is to insert the tray into the oven. There are 2 options you can do here. If you want your cookies to be soft, you can go ahead and bake it for 6 to 7 minutes. However, if you want it to be on the hard side, you can bake it for 8+ minutes. But however, do not bake it for more than 11 minutes or your cookies will burn and be too hard. We will bake both options to show you how it will be. So as you can see here, after about 8 minutes in the oven, the cookies have expanded and cooked. You can see that it's a little dark brown in some areas of the cookies. As I cautioned earlier, you should put them at least 1 inch apart to prevent this from happening. You can see that the cookies have kind of molded together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a new batch of cookies, but this time we're going to put it for a bit longer. Before you start eating them, however, you should let them cool, because the cooling of the cookies will allow them to harden. Because if you see here, if you touch it, it's really, really soft. And the second you pick it up, it will instantly drop from your hand. So that's why you should give it about 5 minutes to cool.
So as you can see here, these are the cookies that have stayed in the oven for more than 7 minutes. As you can also see, it's a bit darker on the brown, which means it's cooked a bit more, and these cookies will be a bit harder. It's really up to personal preference on what you would like. If you like harder cookies, then you would bake it for longer. If you like softer cookies, then you would bake it for less. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed making these delicious cookies. Decorate it however you would like. Sorry for the quality of this image too. Like, subscribe, thank you.